Hey everyone, welcome to the movie guys. I'm Mike, and welcome to my review of Mark Wahlberg's new thriller, Flight Risk.
I never flew U.S. Marshal before. Why is he all chained up?
I have to get him to New York so we can testify against the Moretti crime family.
Okay, hey, you're the boss.
I can't seem to face up to the facts. I'm dancing nervous and I can't relax.
Is it always this bumpy?
You know, a number of passengers have left their lunch up here. I can open a snack bar.
Can't sleep cause my bed's on fire.
Your neck okay? You got a scratch there.
Maintenance. Occupational hazard.
Don't touch me, don't touch me. I'm a real life fire. Psycho killer.
Well, here we are again with a January thriller, and let's be honest, when it comes to January, okay, January usually is where a lot of the bad movies are dumped. Okay, there's a history of January being a not so good month for films. But this year so far, from what I've seen, I haven't seen any trash. And that's the good news. And Flight Risk is no exception. Matter of fact, surprisingly, Flight Risk is actually really, really good. Now, let me clarify this, because you'll probably see some reviews out there that'll probably trash on it a little bit, but I'm going to clarify something right out of the gate. Is the movie got some campiness to it? Absolutely. Are the performances good? Yes. Mark Wahlberg actually knocks this out of the park. And this is why I think this film works so well. Mark Wahlberg is the reason why this film works. Now, not to take away from Michelle Dockery or Topher Grace, because I think they're both excellent in the roles they are given here. And I think for a 90 minutes of intensity and a little bit of a thrill ride, a little bit of unpredictability, I think it works really well. Yeah, does the movie end probably in a way that you expect? Probably. That's kind of the routine for these kind of thrillers. But I'm going to tell you why I think this movie works.
Moretti is very disappointed in you, Winston, and he wants you dead.
So Michelle Dockery plays Madeline Harris. She's a U.S. Marshal. And we open up on a shot that I'm a little confused as to why they went this route. There is it pans down from the sky and we see a motel. But when I saw the opening shot, the motel, something about it didn't look right. Like the way it was shot or the way it was lit or whatever. It's actually a special effect. Now, I don't understand why we couldn't just shoot the outside of any motel for the opening of this scene, because it's not like we actually see Madeline escort him outside and put him in the car. We never see that. So my question is, why couldn't we just go on a routine highway and just shoot a motel, get permission to shoot it outside of a motel? That's all you had to do. But instead, they decided to use a special effect for the motel. Don't know why. It's a little confusing to me. And then there's another special effect, too, in about a minute or so when Topher Grace's character, Winston, looks outside the window and a moose appears. And that's also a special effect, a bad special effect at that. So I'm a little confused as to why these two shots, they wasted special effects on these two shots, because later on in the movie, the special effects I thought were really good. Anytime they're in the plane shots, the end of the film where it involves a runway and a lot of ambulances and crashing and crashes, the effects look good. So I'm not really sure why, A, these two look so bad, and number two, why they even chose to use those special effects there to begin with, because they were completely unnecessary.
Don't shoot him, we need him!
Mayday. We've been compromised.
So let's get into the plot. So Madeline Harris is chasing down Winston, who is an accountant turned informant later on. He's an accountant working for some kind of mobster. We get a cool scene where she, budges in the door and And Winston, looks all surprised. We get a few little cheesy lines. But all in all, I think it's a pretty decent opening. The one thing you'll notice from this movie out of the gate in the first 5 minutes is you can already tell that there's a little bit of camp here. There's a little bit of campiness. Some of the dialogue is campy. Some of the performances are a little hammed up. But I think that's the point here. And some people might not actually believe that Mel Gibson directed this film because if you know him from Passion and a few other movies, you would know that he usually has pretty serious films. So for him to kind of get into this campiness is surprising, but not in a bad way. I think it's kind of cool to see him kind of work outside the box, be able to do something a little bit different out of his comfort zone. But in a way, I kind of almost see like back in the 90s or late 80s, if this film was made, I could actually see Mel Gibson actually playing in this kind of movie. Like the Mark Wahlberg role, I could see Mel Gibson actually taking on that role back in the early 90s and hamming it up and doing that. So I think that's why this works for me, for him to direct something like this, because I feel like that he would fit right in acting in this, 20 or 30 years ago. It's not to say this movie plays out like a movie from 30 years ago or 20 years ago, but it would have worked 20 or 30 years ago. So as we get to a point, we jump right into the action, or jump right into the story, where Madeline takes Winston to this plane. They're going to transport him to Seattle to be an informant for this guy that he's working for. And Mark Wahlberg comes in as the pilot, Daryl Booth, with his southern accent like this. I'm going to take you where you need to go. I thought Wahlberg did a great job with the accent. I thought he was convincing. But the one thing I really want to point out here is most of the movie, if not basically the whole movie, takes place just in this small airplane. And sometimes you wonder, how does a film work that way? I mean, we've had examples of a lot of different thrillers that take place in a very small, tight, confined space, and they work. And we have some that also don't work. But I like the way Michelle Dockery and Mark Wahlberg kind of bounce off each other from the beginning here with the southern accent to when Mark Wahlberg goes full on crazy against her. I think it works really well. There's a good chemistry there, and Topher Grace actually he in a way steals some of the scenes because he gets some good lines, he gets some good one-liners. In a way, it kind of reminded me some of his That 70s Show days with the way he was doing certain things. But the reason why I say that Mark Wahlberg really steals this film is for really one simple reason. He embodies the character, and he does something we've really never seen before. Because as you know, Mark Wahlberg does not play a villain very often. So for him to not only play a bad guy here, and do it convincingly is something that I did not expect. The trailers gave me hope, but he really lives up to it, and he actually gets a lot of these gay one-liners with Topher Grace, almost like he wants to thing with him. It's surprising hearing that come out of Wahlberg's mouth, and I just think that everything about the film works because of Wahlberg's chemistry with Grace and Dockery. And even though the film doesn't have a ton of action per se, it doesn't really need to, because you're kind of almost wondering what's next. You're wondering if Wahlberg is going to get free and attack these two. Maybe the movie's going to end with him killing them both. You just don't know, and you feel like at any given moment it could take that turn. But it works basically because of that, and I'm really happy and satisfied that Wahlberg was able to do this.
I'm gonna tear you apart. The tiny little pieces, they're gonna need the entire forensics team to identify you.
Tell me how to fly this thing, or we will die out here.
So as we get towards the end of the film, we get some really good voice work from people that are interacting with Dockery, trying to land the plane, and what's going on in the U.S. Marshal's office. And there's a side note here, and I just found this out today, that Caroline Van Sant, who's her superior officer in the film, is actually Leah Remini doing the voice. And now I'm going to have to go back and listen to that again because I did not pick up on that the first time, and I thought that was kind of really cool. But I like those little scenes with her talking with her superior officer, and then also talking to the pilot that's going to help her ground the plane. His name is Hassan, and the lines he gets with her, asking her to dinner and stuff like that, I just thought was really cool. And watching her smile and being able to lighten up in the mood while this is going on, I thought was a nice little touch and kind of lightened certain scenes up until we get to the really intense stuff. So, like I said, this film really does drive the fact that it prides itself and really has to push through based on the film's performances. And the film's performances are what carry this film, and they're all great. And I think that's why, ultimately, this works as a whole.
You hear that? Looks military.
You think it's there to help? It's there to shoot you down.
Come on, damn it!
So, finally, I just want to bring up the simple fact that film's 90 minutes. It moves quickly. The pacing is good. The action is good for the little bits that we get. And the performances are excellent. So basically my advice is, if you're looking for a somewhat campy, but interesting and engaging thriller for 90 minutes, this is the right film for you. I think you will enjoy it. If you want to see Mark Wahlberg put in a performance you've never seen him put before, this is the one to see. So I highly recommend that you check that out, or check this out if you're looking for a 90-minute little campy, fun thrill ride. So, in conclusion, I give Flight Risk.
That's the good part.
Damn it!
I'm gonna enjoy this. You ever see a face turn this color before? Huh? I'm gonna tear you apart. Y'all need a pilot?
An 8 out of 10. All right, so that's my thoughts on Flight Risk. I think that if you're looking for a 90-minute thrill ride that's a little campy, but fun and interesting, this is the right film for you. Mel Gibson's direction is very good in a tight space. He does a great job in these 90 minutes of creating just enough tension to make the film work. And the film's performances from Michelle Dockery, Topher Grace, and Mark Wahlberg are excellent and really make this film work as a whole. So I'd recommend checking it out if you're looking for a 90-minute thrill ride with just a little bit of camp to make you laugh and enjoy yourself. So, later this week, I will be reviewing Companion. I did an instant reaction to it a couple days ago. The new film with Sophie Thatcher. Got a lot of build-up, a lot of hype behind it, and if you saw my instant reaction, you kind of know where I'm at with it. Why I liked it, why I didn't like it, it's coming this week, so be sure to check that out if you really want to know if you should check it out or not. So again, please like, subscribe, follow, comment. It's really appreciated on the channel. Want to get this channel really moving, get more followers. Tell me what you all want to see reviewed. I'm happy to do retro reviews and stuff like that, plus more unboxings coming, and so much more. So thanks for joining me on this review of Flight Risk, and I'll see you on the next one. See you, everybody.